So as we talked about, 6 wins will get you to a bowl game. Um, s- Starting here today, last week of August, I suspect Baylor will be favored. I mean, they are favored to beat Tarleton State. Uh, Also, probably Air Force, BYU, Houston. Um, Houston games on the road. Those others are at home. Um, Several of the other games look like toss-ups to me. And then they'll likely be underdogs in road games against Utah, Iowa State, and West Virginia. So let's say though that Baylor wins those 4 games that I mentioned that they'll be favored in. Um, what are the other games in y'all's mind that they are best equipped to win, like today? And is there a game out there where you think, yeah, they could go out and shock everyone?
We're going to start with the expert,
Please.
the legend, all that, the Connect Four champion,
How
That's
many games
right.
in a row have you seen? You've other than John
420,
Morris.
427 consecutive games.
I was going to ask
Um,
you if you've ever seen a worse offensive line than last year.
oh man. Well, maybe the Kevin Steele years.
Still had some bad
Probably,
teams. Had
probably,
some,
probably worse than.
yeah.
Yeah, just looking at the schedule, Brice, I think you're right on those 4 games that, Baylor, that's their best bets to win games. But then I look at the rest of the schedule, and like you said, I think there's a lot of tossed-up games. I you'd like to win at Tech on the road just because, there's a little bit of rivalry going there with Joey McGuire over there, and just for recruiting purposes and stuff, I think that would be a big win. But as far as one, I don't know that it's a must, but particularly by that time it might be. But I would say TCU here, and that's a team that even when they've been really good, when Baylor has been really good, they've struggled to beat TCU. But I think that would be a big one. You've got the 2013 and 14 conference champions that are going to be honored that weekend. 61-58, that'll be in the minds of everyone. I think that would be a really big game to win. And I do agree with you though. I think there's a lot of toss-up games. There's not just a ton of games where I would say, nope, no chance. They can't win this one. Now, my shock the world is actually on your list of ones that they probably won't win. I for some reason I think they could get Utah. I know it's on the road. They're loaded. They've got Rising back. They've got a lot of weapons there. Baylor played them really well last year, and Baylor wasn't good. So,
Hmm.
and it's early in the year, before you kind of got everything going. So I think that might be a shock to the world. Now, here's my other pick for that. At the end of the season, because they're one of the picks to maybe win it, I could see them beating Kansas in the last game, just because, and last year notwithstanding, they're pretty good at home, but I think that's one that who knows, who knows by the end of the year what either team is playing for. But I think that's one, Kansas, one of the favorites, or kind of one of the favorites to at least contend. I think Baylor could beat them in the season finale.
Okay.
You kind of took my pick there too, Jerry. What he said. I think Kansas is one. I got him winning 7 games this year, and I think Kansas is one of them. Jalen Daniels is a superstar, but
Yeah.
he hasn't been able to stay healthy for a full season. So that being at the very end of the season, I think, who knows? I don't wish injuries on anyone, but who knows how healthy Jalen Daniels is at that point in the season. I also think, that run that Jerry talked about, Tech, Oklahoma State, TCU in the middle of the season with bye weeks on either side. I think Baylor gets one of those games. It could be Oklahoma State. Maybe they shut down Ollie Gordon at home for homecoming and the defense is rolling and, you know, and maybe it's TCU in that rivalry game. I think they get one of those 3 games. And then earlier on in the season, I think at Colorado, I think Colorado is a good team. Obviously, they have 2 of the best players in the country, but the rest of their team, I don't know how good they are, and that'll be the first Big 12 game for them. I know certainly the Baylor players are going to be up for that game going against Prime and all that. So I think they're going to win 7 games and make a bowl game. And yeah, so I think there's like a lot of optimism. I don't think they're going to win a Big 12 championship like last year, but um, seven
So the
games I think
Utah
is
game
attainable.
would certainly, if they were to beat Utah, that would shock the country, I
Right.
think, for
Right.
sure. I'm not ruling it out. I do think that it helps that Baylor will have played a game already by the time they played Utah. Um, so I think that's good for the Bears. It's still going to be tough. I mean, that's going to be a tough place to play,
Yeah.
but um, the Colorado game, I feel like they probably won't be favored, and that speaks a little bit to just the buzziness, if that's a word, of Colorado and how everybody's just sort of all in on the Buffaloes. But I'm with you, Zach. I think that that's a game that's there for the taking. I mean, that's why I probably included it more in the toss-up category. But uh, yeah, I just think that um, the Buffaloes, they're gonna have to prove it to me a little bit,
Mhm.
Dion's team. And um we there's been some weird it's been a long time, but there's been some weird Baylor Colorado games,
Mhm.
especially in Boulder, right, Jerry?
Yeah, absolutely. Because the one that jumped out at me was in '91 when I think Colorado was actually the defending national champion, or it may have been a year where they shared it. But Baylor went up there, and I don't know that Baylor was a heavy underdog, but they were definitely an underdog and won it on a Jeff Ireland kick at the end of the game after Santana Dotson blocked a field goal that pretty much kind of would have clinched it. And he blocked it all the way to the other side of the field. And then I guess the other one that would come to mind would be when Joe Pa
Joe Pavelec.
made the interception in the end zone to clinch that one. So yeah, there's been some crazy games up there. But yeah, that I think that will be a good trip. And like you said, I think Colorado is a little susceptible. Man, they could get beat this week. North Dakota State is really good. And I think Colorado might be a 9 or 10 point favorite. So yeah, they've got some proving to do as well.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the kind of history that you get on a podcast that's been around since the analog computer days. Uh, so
We
you get
had to we had to dial it up.
91 is before the Big 12. So you were born, right, Zach? You were born by 91.
1990. So
Okay.
I was
Mhm.
one
You're the
year old.
baby.
Yeah, yeah. I was a senior in high school in
Yeah,
91.
shut up, guys. I'm tired of hearing this. I hear this enough at home from my wife.